Good evening. Welcome to Life Live. This is episode 19, and I'm titling this Coping and Crutches. The reason I wanted to do an episode about this is because I realize I don't think I've directly talked about coping with your environment and your feelings and what you're going through, and understanding why you shouldn't use any type of crutch to kind of help you through what's going on in your life. One of the, if we talk about crutches and we think about crutches, a lot of that really revolves around finding a way to escape what you're going through. Some people use substance abuse to be able to do that, or just a substance in general. And that's not a healthy alternative for a number of reasons. And I'll kind of go through those as I talk through this. And more towards the end, I'll kind of deal with understanding on how to cope and maybe some things that you should do and reiterate some of the things that I've talked about. So when we talk about crutches, this could be something obviously that you're using to lean on to help you through the difficult time that you're going through. And a lot of people utilize crutches so it kind of helps them move along. And if you've listened to the episodes that I've talked about and done before, not on this, but just in general, I think those are there to really help you kind of understand who you are, where you can go, and really kind of how to find yourself and help you through these difficult times, or your difficult life. And often what I find, and even what I did as myself, was ended up turning to various substances or even routines to kind of help me deal with what I was going through. To give an example, obviously drugs are a crutch that a lot of people use. Alcohol is another thing that a lot of people use. And so it's, these are things that can help you for a temporary period of time. They don't really provide you with an answer or a solution, but what they do is help you just, again, momentarily. And one of the things and one of the reasons that I started this was to try to help people look inside themselves and help them realize how important they are and how special they are. And if you build on that, then that kind of gives you your own motivation. That gives you kind of your own support structure, because if you start to rely on other things to help you through, then those things become a crutch. And that's not, while it might seem helpful at the time and while it might seem useful in the moment, the problem is that weeks, months, years down the road, those crutches aren't going to help us anymore, because in essence we haven't really dealt with the main object at hand, which is you, right? I mean, if we avoid you and finding things that make you happy and doing things that make you happy, and you turn to a substance or some external, tool or escape, then that's only going to help you so long. And clearly, I don't want that for you. I don't want that for anyone. So, excuse me. There are things where, let's just take drugs for example. Yes, there are some states where marijuana is legal, and obviously there are certain restrictions and age, just like alcohol restrictions there are. So, while there are benefits to marijuana in this particular example, I still don't think that that's something that you should turn on. Excuse me. for a couple different reasons. Again, it becomes something that can become habitual. Even if we take a look at cigarettes, for example, people who smoke have a really hard time coming off of smoking because it's something that they've clutched onto, and now it's routine, and now it's something that that they do during the day when they're stressed or when they need a break, and it itself is not really providing you with anything. Now, yes, there are receptors in your brain that can become relaxing based upon nicotine, and there are studies for that, and alcohol and marijuana and things like that. But again, these are only temporary things. They're not a solution. They're not an answer to trying to find you and make you happy. So let's say that you want to turn to marijuana or alcohol or whatever it might be to kind of help you through the day. I can tell you from experience, unfortunately extensive experience, there are a number of bad things that go along with that. For me, in middle school, I had a really hard time with dealing with people throughout the day just because of constantly being ridiculed. So what I would do is, sadly, I would take a particular substance in the morning, and that would kind of keep me numb throughout the school day. And over time, again, it's not a solution. I never looked inward. I never tried to find something that could help me later on in life, until later on in life. And I didn't realize kind of what effect that was having on me. And it's, there are things that drugs can do to your brain and your body that can be devastating or can harm you over time. And again, that's obviously not going to be a healthy thing because then you have other complications. So, while it does seem like a temporary solution and it might help throughout your day or certain situations, I think it's more about trying to find ways that help you cope and deal with what's going on, and finding another way to be able to deal with it. And I know that sounds difficult to say because, again, I've been there. I know what it's like to, dread going to school and being in public and wanting to just kind of escape all that. And substances allowed me to do that. But again, it didn't make me a better person inside. That's something that I learned later on, and not to keep saying this, but that's one of the reasons why I started doing this, because if I had someone that I could listen to or talk to or get advice from that wasn't a parent, because it's, when we're going through difficult times, it can be difficult to turn to family members or even your direct parents because you might not think that they understand what you're going through, and it's an awkward conversation and things like that. So just trying to find a way to deal with it on your own can make it difficult. So I didn't have anyone. And at the time I was just kind of frustrated with what I was going through in life and how things were turning out. So, I want to try to prevent you going through the things that I went through. And, so that's, again, why I keep doing this. So, when we take a look at substance abuse, there's no solution. Okay, and not only that, it can lead to more difficult things. Being that marijuana is currently legal in several states, and you might live in one of those states, and for those of you who don't, then it can lead to more difficult things, right? So, for example, let's say that you do decide to turn to marijuana and you do live in a state where it's not legal, or it is legal in your state and you're underage, and then, you let's say that you end up enjoying it. Well, now this is a habit that costs money. Okay, so now are you spending your hard-earned money to go and buy something that can help you temporarily help you throughout the day or the school week or whatever it might be? And then if that's the case, now imagine the amount of money that you're spending just to be able to do that. And then if you are in a place where it is illegal, then now you also run the chance of getting in some kind of trouble, maybe getting arrested or anything like that. So then it becomes, a compounding issue because, you're a wonderful person. You just happen to be someone who is caught in a bad circumstance where you're being picked on. You decide to turn to a substance that you think is going to be able to help you through it. And then now, let's say you end up getting caught and you've gone from this beautiful, innocent person to someone who now to the outside world and to your family and your friends look like, a criminal. And because that happens to you, then you start to think about either A, how you really got to change your life, or B, it can dig you into a deeper hole. And obviously, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make your life better, and that's really only going to make it worse. For me, I unfortunately had the latter because I was using substances. I was unfortunate to be caught. It was unfortunate that it happened, but it was beneficial for me because it made me look at what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be and what defined me as me. And again, if I had someone or something to kind of point me in the right direction and make me understand the road that I was going down was not going to be a good one prior to being caught, I would have taken that road instead of going how I did. Now things still turned out okay. I'm not somebody who's been incarcerated, but it still forced me to take a long, hard look at the choices that I had made. And I realized that everything I was doing was a direct reflection of what other people were doing to me. And I was allowing it, and it frustrated me. And so I took it upon myself to try to figure out, well, how can I better myself? Or what are things that I can do to help me cope in a more adult manner than turning to a substance? And the same thing goes with alcohol. Again, trying to find something that's going to temporarily hold you over for something isn't going to be a solution. That would almost like going to a therapist for 30 minutes and then thinking that you're cured and, that being it. It really has to come around and come to you internally on how you're going to handle coping. So crutches aren't an answer. They're just not. Now, there are things that you can do. So if we take the definition of a crutch, somebody else might say, well, you listen to music and movies and that helps settle you. Couldn't that be considered a crutch? Or if you're someone who's turned to painting, does painting, is that become a crutch? There are things that are healthy as crutches because they don't change who you are. They don't affect your performance at your job or your work or your school or mentally or whatever it might be. Just because, I've said find things that make you happy. Finding a substance that makes you happy is not something that's making you happy. It's a temporary solution. So, yes, there are crutches that are beneficial and can be helpful to get you through what you're going through and to help you throughout life. But these are things that are positive. Now, I'm not saying rely on only, let's say painting is your crutch and how you deal with and what makes you feel better. I'm not saying lock yourself. I'm not saying that it is healthy to stay in your room or your studio and paint, for days on end. That to me wouldn't seem healthy. Now, if it's a project, that's one thing. But again, everything needs to be done in some sort of moderation. And moderation is important because, as you do something, the more you do something over and over and over, it doesn't become as important as it did in the beginning. If we think about the very first Christmas or birthday that we can remember and the first presents we got, we were so excited and didn't even care what they were. And then the second birthday and Christmas, now we've got expectations. And then as we get older and as the years go by, what we appreciated originally as something simplistic now becomes a standard. And that applies to crutches. That applies to abuse of a substance, because what starts out as, let's say, a beer, now becomes a 12-pack, and this is something that then can become on a daily basis and multiple times throughout the day. So again, it's not a solution that we're finding. It's only a temporary aspect that's not really helping us in the long run. It will cause more problems. If you live in a state where marijuana is legal and you are of legal age and you understand who you are and you understand what makes you happy and you are in a good place in your life, then I can understand something being recreational being certainly safe, as long as you understand and are comfortable with who you are and you understand why you're doing it. I'm not saying alcohol is bad. I'm saying, again, some people have a glass of wine once a month just to have on the weekend to help them relax, just because they may have had a stressful day at work or they've been overwhelmed, but not to escape who they are. And that's a really big part of this. So healthy crutches are perfectly fine. They can also be very helpful in ways of coping. So if we take a look at coping, what exactly is it? Well, coping is being able to really understand what is happening around you and to you, how you internalize it, and how you make that feel to you. And there's a lot of different things that we can do to cope in a healthy manner, right? Because that's one of the things that, I want everybody to be able to do. If you understand and you kind of dig deep inside and you're comfortable with who you are, or you're in a good place on being on the road on finding on who you are, then being able to cope with things can be so much easier. Because when you start to listen to your internal voice and you start to pay attention to the things that matter to you, these outside and external sources that come at you in a negative manner, you're able to cope with them better. You're able to not take them as personally as you did, not able to internalize them as deep as you did. And that's a big stepping stone. Imagine being able, let's say that you are someone who gets picked on or ridiculed at school. Imagine being able to go in one day and the first thing that's thrown at you, you're just able to let it kind of roll off your back. I mean, it might sting a little, but it didn't like it did the day before. And finding ways to cope with that can be very monumental, especially when you're able to take a hit and it not be a devastating blow. Now, I can't really tell you what you can do exactly for coping, because it's a pretty broad package. It really does come down to, finding these things that make you happy, or to help you appreciate you as who you are, and to not really listen to all these external things and negative things that people might say. And it's unfortunate that I can't just give you one single answer, because it's different for everybody. And you'll, as you grow and as you move on in your life, you'll have various coping mechanisms and different things that you've set up in your life to kind of help you with that. Now, we're not talking about building walls. I've got a previous episode on doing that, because we don't want to build walls. What we want to do is to be able to accept and understand and deal with the people who come over our wall or through our wall. And your own coping mechanism can be, it's something that you kind of figure out on your own. Like I said, I wish that there was a single thing I could say to go and do or find for that. But I can tell you, not relying on a crutch is the right way to go. There are so many things that can go wrong when you start to rely on crutches. The other thing is that, when let's say that you do find some crutch and kind of like presents, over time that crutch doesn't really help you as much as it did. So then you find the next crutch and the same thing. It becomes this whole cyclical cycle where you're trying to find things that can help you cope and deal with these things on a daily basis. And it's not, that's not an answer. That's not going to help you. In the end, what's going to happen is you're going to get exhausted. And you're going to get to a point where you're exhausted and there's really nothing else that you feel like that you can do. So then you become depressed because you think everything around you is crumbling and every thing that you try doesn't help. And it comes down to, now again, in no way do I condone how people treat other people in a negative way. What I want to do is to try and help you understand that life does get better, and life can get better faster by looking inside and understanding the things that make you happy, and finding things that make you happy, and finding things that help you really focus on you. Because as you get older, then this environment that you've built up around yourself and the way that you feel and the way you internalize things will really help you as different things in life come at you. Because that's the thing. Think what is a negative aspect on you today is not going to be the same thing next year. It's going to be something different. And then the following year, there's going to be something different. Every year, there's going to be something different. But by loving yourself, understanding yourself, and realizing that nobody else really matters other than you, then these things that come at you time after time, you learn to realize they're not really that important. They don't define who you are. Where somebody says isn't really who you are, it's you know who you are. And it's very important to understand who you are. And again, I wish that I could say, this is it, or snap my fingers, or even if I said this is the thing that makes you great, there's nothing that I can do directly to make you believe that. But I hope that you find, and I hope that you see, I shouldn't even say find, because everything that's great about you is on you and in you. It's something that you see every day. The key thing is being able to really see what it is. Try this. Over the next week, find something on you or something about you that you think either is already great. Let's just say your eyes, for example. So in this example, for a week, you're going to realize how beautiful your eyes are. There's the different color, the shape, the way that your irises and your pupils expand and shrink. Noticing your eyelashes, no matter how long or how short. Noticing your eyebrows. And just think about, I'm just using this as an example, it doesn't have to be your eyes, but it could be. Picking something on you or something about you that you may have not really noticed before. And over the next week, make that a focus of something great about you. I think for me, I go to eyes because typically when we look in the mirror, that's one of the first things we look at. The other thing is that the eye is such a unique object. It's a very complicated part of our body. I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now. But it's a very unique and very interesting part of our body. Or it could be your fingertip. I mean, you can on a daily basis look at, how beautiful your fingers are, or your hands are, or your thumb is, or your thumbnails, or your fingernail. It just, my point is, pick something, because what you're going to notice is that the more that you look at this one particular thing, whether it be physical or whether it be how smart you are, how great at math you are, or how well you can read, or how fast you're learning at reading or comprehending a subject. The point is, focus on something, just one thing in you or about you, and make that a focus of something great about you. It already is. The big thing is that finding a way for you to truly see how important and special it is. By doing this, I'm hoping, for one, that it can start to really build something in you. Secondly, hopefully it can help build the internal voice that you have inside of you. Because the more confident you feel about yourself, the easier it is for things to not bother you. That's why I say love you with everything. And then if I think about it, maybe one of you out there doesn't think that they love themselves. So then let's start simple. Just picking one aspect and make that a wonderful part of your week. And maybe this will be something that we go and do quite often, because it can be difficult. Typically, people who are bullied have something about them, whether it be the way they talk, the way they blink, the way they look, whatever it might be. But obviously somebody feels that is not perfect. And who is it for somebody to tell you that you're not perfect? No one. But the more that you hear that, the more it starts to affect you. And the more it affects you, the more it makes you question yourself. And then it becomes a downward spiral. And clearly, that's not where we want to be. That's not where I want you to be. I want you to wake up every morning and look at yourself, no matter how bad of a day it is, and you know how wonderful you are and how great your day is going to be, regardless of what someone says. And so, please, at least do that for me. And if by one day you've made your tip of your finger the most important thing and you feel great about it, then maybe pick something else the next day. But the point is I want, from head to toe, for you to feel amazing about yourself. Because what people say negative about you aren't true. And if it's one person, if it's 10 people, if it's 1,000 people, if it's the media, if it's Facebook, if it's Instagram, if it's whatever it might be that's constantly making you feel like what you are isn't beautiful and important, then we need to change that. And you might look in the mirror. Let's say you're someone who's overweight and you get picked on for being overweight. That still doesn't define you. I mean, so what? So what? I mean, if you look in the mirror and you look at yourself and say, there's nothing great about me because of how I look and how overweight I am because of what everybody's told you, That's just what other people are telling you. You need to find one thing that you love about yourself. And what you see today or tomorrow with starting on might not seem like it's the greatest part of you, but I'm hoping in a week's time that it will. So this is, me doing this is kind of interesting, right? Because everybody has opinions and everybody's life is different. And sometimes it's hard for me to find a specific topic to talk about. I'd rather just come up here and talk and splatter out all my thoughts and just keep talking forever. But obviously that'd be very hard to listen to. It wouldn't really be organized, and it wouldn't really help you in the long run. So every week I try, or twice a week, I try to find things to really focus on. And as I've said before, if there's something that you want to talk about or something that you're experiencing, please let me know. You can always email me at lifeliveseries@gmail.com. I also have a site that I'll have in the description. I think it's already in my other ones. You can listen to this live if you'd like to as well, and chat and give me different topics to talk about or particular subjects. But I wish that I could just change everything for all of you and make you see how important you are. Because everything about you is wonderful, no matter what people say. And I keep repeating that, and I'll probably say it till the day I die, because I just know how many years I went through hating myself because of how other people made me hate me. And then when I got in my 30s and in my 40s, I just look back and realize how much time I'd lost. And that's not what I want for you. So I hope that this is kind of helpful. Understanding crutches and coping. And again, I know how easy it is to turn to drinking or drugs, but it is seriously not an answer. The answer is inside of you. We're going to keep digging until it comes out. And for those of you who've gotten to a point where you are depressed and you feel like there's nothing else that can happen, again, just pick one thing about you for this week. And I'm not saying talk to your finger. You certainly can if you want to. And I'm not saying spend 5 or 10 minutes looking at it and boasting yourself about it. All I'm saying is say one positive sentence about it every day. You can say it as many times as you want to during the day, but I'm at least saying say it to yourself at least once a day when you're brushing your teeth. That's the other thing. Maybe you're great at brushing your teeth. I know this sounds silly, but it can be something as silly as that. Maybe you have really fine-tuned the way in which you rotate your wrist, the amount of pressure that you apply to your teeth. It can be something that simple. It doesn't matter really what it is or how simple you might think that it is. It's all about you. And if it's something that you do, and it's something that you're proud of, or hopefully in the next week soon to be proud of, you'll start to feel better about you. And that's all I want. Well, I won't go any further. It's been just under 35 minutes. I appreciate you listening. I hope that this is helpful. Again, please reach out to me if you'd like to. There's always chat available on Spreaker if you'd like to shoot me a message or have me talk about a particular topic. Thank you for listening. And I will Talk to you on Tuesday. Take care of yourself.